Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aardvark Accessibility Podcast. This is episode 22, and my name is Natalie Garza. I'm one of the co-hosts, and with me today is...
Natalie MacLees, the other co-host.
And she is an accessibility expert here to answer our questions. And in this episode, we're going to talk about WCAG 3.0.
WCAG 3.0. We did our best.
We did our best to research and investigate, so we're going to share our notes with you guys and our thoughts. But to start off, Natalie, do you want to give us a quick history on WCAG's versions?
Yeah, sure. So early on, people figured out that we needed guidelines to figure out how to make the web accessible. So WCAG 1.0 was released in 1999 to kind of help address that. It was pretty simple. It was just 14 guidelines, and they had a priority 1, 2, or 3, which kind of roughly became A, AA, and AAA when 2.0 came out in 2008. And that's where we got the structure we know now, where we have the POUR principles: perceivable, operable, understandable, robust, with the success criteria and the guidelines underneath those 4 principles. The web moved along, new technology came out, people started buying smartphones left and right. They realized there were some things that didn't get addressed in 2.0. So we got 2.1, which came out in 2018, which added some more rules around mobile devices and also added some more rules for people with cognitive disabilities and low vision. Again, the web moved along, new technologies, and we got WCAG 2.2 pretty recently in October of 2023, which added even more guidelines for people with cognitive disabilities and also with motor impairments. So just addressing some things that got left out and addressing some new technologies and things as the web moved along.
So, do you want to give us a quick introduction to WCAG 3.0?
Yeah, so when we saw WCAG 1.0, it was really focused on HTML because CSS and JavaScript were so new at the time. Like nobody was really thinking about them. And when we had 2.0, that's when they really started thinking about, oh, there's CSS and JavaScript. And of course, we see a lot of the techniques and things will reference scripting and CSS. But the web has really kind of moved on. We have really robust, rich applications that can take the place of desktop applications, which we take for granted now, and we forget how revolutionary those were. And 2.0 doesn't really do a super great job at addressing that. So 3.0 is coming along to help and better address, mobile applications and these rich kind of very interactive applications that we build on the web now.
Yeah. And before we start talking about 3.0, it's nowhere near finished.
They have the skeleton there, and now they just have to fill all the information in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you try to click through, you'll find it's pretty empty. There's not much to reference.
Yeah. And you definitely couldn't implement it yet at this point. There is not enough guidance there to figure out, like, how would I meet this rule that's being added?
And it's not going to replace 2.0, 2.1, or 2.2 anytime soon.
Yeah, so that's always been the case. Like a new WCAG version never replaces what came before. We kind of just move along and adopt the new one when it comes time. I did see a timeline somewhere that said they expect to have the timeline of when they will finish 3.0 in September of this year. So September of 2025, we can expect them to give us finally a date for when they expect 3.0 to be done.
So, do you want to go over the new structure in 3.0?
Yeah, we can do our best to dive into it. We might get something wrong, but just let us know.
So, in WCAG 3.0, they actually changed the structure of all the content, right? So, before it was structured in principle, followed by guidelines, followed by success criteria, whereas now they're doing guidelines as a topmost level, followed by requirements.
Yes. And then requirements have methods.
Yes. And there's different types of requirements.
There are, which The methods are similar to the techniques we have now. They're kind of like how to do this. And we do have different types of techniques now, right? We have the advisory techniques and what's the other one?
Sufficient.
Sufficient. Yes. So we have that now. We have sufficient techniques and we have advisory techniques. So this is similar because we have foundational requirements and we have supplemental requirements. And then there are
And
methods under each of those.
and in addition, we have assertions that sit next to the
Yes.
requirements.
Yes, we also have assertions. And I'll be honest, I haven't quite wrapped my head around the assertions.
And they're supposed to be informative. So there's just supposed to be like extra little
Well,
tidbits.
the assertions are normative, but then the how-to documents under the assertions are informative.
Yeah, they did a weird thing where they completely threw out all the vocabulary everyone's already familiar and has worked with for 20 years and WCAG 2.2, and they're trying to introduce brand new vocabulary and names for all these
Yes,
things.
except confusingly kept guidelines, but made them mean something different.
Yes.
Slightly different, I guess. Yeah. And they have really focused on breaking out the parts of the spec that are normative and the parts of the spec that are informative. So, normative are the things that you would use to test against to determine is this passing or failing. And informative are like the techniques that you would use to actually accomplish something.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of stuff on those WCAG 2.2 articles that are more informative, like the equivalent of the informative text.
I think the techniques would be the informative part of 2.2, right? Like how to actually accomplish this. But the success criterion itself is normative. So that's what tells you what you're going to test against. And
Okay.
then the techniques are the things that are informative that tell you how to pass that test.
Okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah. They're not as like clearly divided in WCAG 2, 2.1, 2.2, but in 3.0, they're really focused on separating those normative and informative parts of the standard out.
Yes. Do you want to cover or go over the comparison that we have based off what's already written in 3.0?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
So, in 3.0, the one that's most filled in so far is one called Image Alternatives. And I don't know if it's going to be 2.1.1 or if it's going to be 1.1,
Yeah.
but the closest success criteria we have right now is 1.1.1 non text content. And I think the theme that we're seeing in 3.0 is that they're being a lot more specific on elements, whereas 2.2 can be really broad in a lot of cases, especially in 1.1.1, where it says, like, literally anything that's not text, we're going to check on this one.
Yes. Anything that's not text falls under 1.1.1. Yeah.
And I would say that in the 3.0 documentation, I do like this new approach where they're kind of trying to guide you through like a conditional statement where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
is this decorative? No. Click here. If yes, continue. Is this image available to assistive technology? Yes. Click this link here. If not, continue. So like I like that approach comparing it to the success criteria we have right now, where they give you 30 links and then
Yes.
click one of these if you think it applies to you.
Yeah. Yeah. You do have to do a lot of work in 2.2 to figure out which of the sufficient and advisory techniques apply to your situation. And sometimes they spell that out a little bit, but often they don't. So it's kind of up to you. And it looks like in 3.0, they're making that a lot more obvious that, like, here's how you'll deal with different situations. And there's some very specific prescriptions for what you need to do if you're handling those different situations.
Yeah. I can see there's an effort to try to guide people to the right page and the right place and to the right methods. But this language is still so stiff. It's still really hard to read.
And very technical at this point still, yes. So hopefully that will get adjusted as they go along. And just like with WCAG 2, there's the separate understanding documents, which are meant to be like a more accessible version of the guideline. And I would imagine that we'll see the same thing with 3.0, that there will be a separate set of documents meant to be your introduction to this specific guideline or method.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But just as an example, I'd like to read an excerpt from 3.0 Image Alternatives.
Sure.
Under foundational requirements, step 2 says, is the image presented in a way that is available to user agents and assistive technology? Yes, image must meet. Image is programmatically determinable, and the accessibility support set incorporates equivalent text alternative is available for image that conveys content.
Very technical.
I don't know what I just read.
Yeah, that is definitely language that is meant for a developer who is writing a very technical test, right? So very normative, like requirement here that's explaining exactly how this content is going to meet a test. So I think that more beginner level information will hopefully come later.
Yeah. So to summarize, WCAG 3.0 is still a working draft, very early stages. Changes the structure completely, changes all the vocabulary that we've come to know and understand. It's not supposed to replace 2.0, and it's maybe around 5%
Yeah,
ish.
that's probably fair. And we can keep an eye out for later this fall when we find out when they actually expect 3.0 to be ready.
That's right. Yes. So, with all that said, where can people start to learn more about accessibility and what guidelines we have now?
Yeah, so I don't have a place for you to go to learn about 3.0 in an easy way just yet. But if you want to learn about 2.0, 2.1, or 2.2 and figure out if your own website is accessible, you can come on over to aardvarkaccessibility.com, scan your homepage. We'll show you where the errors that are automatically detectable are and guide you through how to fix those.
Yes. And if you have any confusion as you review the official documentation, go check out wcagandplainenglish.com where we've rewritten every single success criteria in plain language.
Yes, made it easy to understand for beginners.
Yes. So, with all that said, thank you guys for joining us. This has been episode 22, and we will talk to y'all next time. All right, so we have a really quick thumbnail post to get through, and this time I chose the emoji. It is smirk. So, again with the eyebrows.
Oh no, you're doing the eyebrow thing to me.
You have to look off to the side and then crooked mouth. That's how I feel about 3.0.
Doing it or not.
Right,
is it a smirk or is it side eye?
That's true. I don't know. And so with that, we're gonna cut.